The other thing that comes up for me too is naturally, these words kind of just came to me, but they didn't just come to me. They were things that I had to kind of work through and sit with and be like, is gratefulness something that I should be exemplifying every single day, even in the shit storms? Like even in the nasty stuff and the things like the deaths that we go through, identity, physical death, like losing people, like how can I see the gratefulness in all of these things? So I had to kind of sit with it. And you asked me actually on the last call, you're like, are those your values? And I was like, yeah, they are as it relates to the podcast. And then I said, but I've actually also defined other values as well, personally, just through some personal development work that I did like 7 years ago. And I said, I am a vulnerable, honest, romantic man. And they were all things at that time where I was like, these are all words that exemplified who I get to be as a reminder to myself of like, look, you're not being truly vulnerable or honest or romantic in any way, shape, or form in your life. So attach to those values and then become it. And the question that I got for you with regards to that is, that was the first time, like 7 years ago, it was the first time when somebody actually said, wrap your existence or your way of being with a word. And I was like, what? Like, how am I?
Just one?
Yeah, just one. And then, okay, we'll give you three. Oh, three? That's all and then I had a hard time actually thinking like, well, what does this mean? Is this it? Are these my only values? Do I pick these and now I'm stuck with them forever? Can I have the same values personally as I do in my business? Can they, overlap? And I think you are already explaining that this is something that you've really mastered or continue to master and assisting other people in doing is actually defining that. So what have you found in working with people? Like when you say, what are your values? Do you find a lot of people go, oh, this, and this? Or do a lot of people go, well, I don't know. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah,
What's been your experience?
Most have been, I don't know. And they just think of like something on the spot. And typically I find those to be more aspirational than actual. And that's okay. It's not to say that we can't be aspirational, but I say, let's deal with the actual, because if you wanted to be those things and you aren't those things, there's got to be a reason why. Let's unpack that a little bit from who you are. And I've had people say, oh yeah, I know my values. I went with the leader, this must have been 5 years ago. And I said, all right, have you ever done a values exercise like this? And he said, yeah, absolutely. I know my values. I said, you do? He's like, yep, got them in my wallet. Fantastic. Can I see them? He's like, yep. So pulls out a list of 7 values.
Really quick, I got to say this. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but I literally have on here, it's hard to see, but I am a vulnerable, honest, romantic.
Oh, I see when the light hits it. I love it. You don't have it in your wallet. On your wallet. And like you're paying for it. You're like, yep, romantic. How much is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
I'll be that romantic.
Yeah.
So this guy, and he had 7 values, sure enough, laminated on a card. So I'm holding them up. I'm like, fantastic. Tell me about your values. And he said, well, the first one is respect. And I looked at it and I was like, no, that's not even one of the 7. He had gone through the exercise. Somebody at some point at some event, they did a values exercise, laminated a card and did all that. And that's not the type of exercise, right? That's not what we're doing here. We have to understand, your positive values and how you succeed and what usually gets people and the way that we figure out values. There's a bunch of questions that I ask and we go through a whole process, but there's 2 really important ones that I ask. One is, what makes you angry? And the other is, how do you fail? Now, when you get angry, and you can mention a bunch of things in your world that make you mad. And I want to make a very distinct difference here. Angry and aggressive are 2 very different things. Some people are like, I don't get mad. I'm like, bullshit. You might not get aggressive when you get mad, but it doesn't mean that you don't feel anger. And the range is like, one of the things that pisses me off is injustice in the world. If anyone is treated poorly because of skin color, economic status, gender, whatever, pisses me off. And I don't understand how people can't put toothpaste caps back on toothpaste. It makes no sense in the world. And I have every single member of my family, minus myself, they complain about the dried out toothpaste, but they never put the cap back on the toothpaste. Are you kidding me? Come on, people.
dad problems here. Let's go.
Isn't it? So that's my range. And here's the thing is anytime you get mad about something, one of your values has been broken. So if injustice is really making me mad, that's because I value justice or fairness or equality or equity or all of the things that I can define as kind in my world.
Yep.
And then the failure one is, this is an unpopular opinion so far, but I promise you it works. There's so many leader trainings out there that say, oh, well, leaders need to act from a place of values. Or people think, oh, if I disagree with someone, that means they don't have values. Like, not a Trump supporter, right? Disagree with pretty much everything that man says, don't like him. And can you say that he doesn't have values? Can you say that he's not ambitious? He's has
certainly
values.
Ambitious.
They just take it. And that's the thing. He's got values. I just don't agree with him.
Right.
And they go against my values. Right. But here's the thing is any value, and there's a lot of people who say ambition is a good thing. And I think ambition is a good thing until you take anything too far. And this is the trick about values. I don't think you live them or don't live them. I think we are always living them every single day in every decision we make. Yes, we make bad choices, but that's not because of a lack of values. Typically, that's because of an extremity of values. If you take any value too far, it can become damaging. So an honest person typically can also be considered rude or too direct, right? If you've got a motivated person, dedicated person, they can become stubborn. Any value that you go too far with, kindness taken too far, you get walked over. You can become weak. You can become a punching bag if you don't say no to people or whatever. So if you look at how we fail, typically we fail because we go so far in line with one of our values that it makes us drop off a cliff. So that's the part when I get with people and they're like, oh yeah, I know my values. I'm like, all right, let's test those out. Let's see if you do. And when we go through this exercise, that's typically one that people's eyes open. They're like, oh. And then if you look at it as a parent, what do we project on our kids based on our values too? Opens up a whole new box of the way that we view ourselves and how we educate our kids.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed that clip and you want to watch the full unedited episode, go ahead and click over here. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe. It really does mean a lot to me. Thanks so much.